we've gotten a few emails of individuals saying that maybe we should get some more content at Leading Saints around music. It's obviously deep in our tradition, and it's something that you're never going to go to a church service without hearing some music. So it's an important thing that often maybe gets forgotten. There's some great comments coming in, so we can go with one of those questions, or if there is a specific question or thought that someone wants to jump in with, and you can put that in the chat box or raise your hand and we will have you unmute and share. All right, Pamela, good to see you. Go ahead and unmute and let's hear from you.
I was just wondering what people are doing for their Christmas party. Not Christmas party, the Christmas program for Sunday, the Sunday before Christmas. I play the organ, and I play with this other guy. We switch every other week, and I thought he was going to be in charge of the program. Now he wants me to be in charge of the program, so I haven't even thought about it until just now.
Awesome. Anybody else want to share? Or Pamela, how long have you been in this role?
A few years. I mean, I do other things too, but since I think 2021, since we came back from COVID, because there's only myself and another guy who plays, so we have to do all the music in the ward pretty much.
I'm curious, maybe just share what other are there other music leaders that are tuning in, what you are planning on doing for Christmas, even though whether it's unique or traditional or whatever.
For the sacrament meeting.
Yeah. All right, Sarah, go ahead.
So we are the ASL ward in our stake. And so we have a focus on only doing music that you can have a translation to. Like making sure the words line up instead of it being an arrangement. So looking for on different websites, like Sally DeFord has a really great website. And then there's a Facebook group for LDS music chairs that people have put tons of ideas in. So that's a really great resource also.
That's awesome.
Awesome. If you could link to those in the chat box, I think many will appreciate those quick links. Let's see. Sarah Jane, go ahead and unmute.
Hi guys, super happy to be here. A couple of things that I am doing. So I feel like our ward is I'm fresh meat into our ward. I'm young, I'm musically inclined, and so they have given me all the musical responsibilities, and I'm feeling overwhelmed. But for our Christmas program, I'm starting to organize it right now, and I have the primary singing a couple songs from Angie Killian. They're singing When We Seek Him, and the song that's like joy, joy, joy to the world. You know that one? Anyway, I just have a bunch of people. I'm delegating it out to people because I feel like the more you can involve others, the easier it is off of yourself, right? And so I have like my choir, and I have like a little bell choir. Our choir is really small because we don't have a ton of musical talent in our ward or people reaching out. I have also reached out a lot to my youth to see if they would do a youth number, but they're kind of shy, so maybe we could talk about that later on, about how we can help the youth be more involved. Another thing, so I have an organ piano duet. I have one idea that I want to try to incorporate is missionary families, to see if they would learn Silent Night in their missionaries' language. If so, I thought that would be kind of cool. We did that when I was a missionary. I was in charge of our zone conference, music Christmas zone conference, and I had each of our zones do like a little number and a testimony. And so that's kind of what I'm thinking for our program. I've had like a narrator who could like read a couple of like scripture verses that tell the Christ story. Anyway, so that's just some of my ideas. Hopefully that helps.
I love the organ piano duet and the Silent Night in
Yeah.
other languages. That's awesome.
Those are awesome ideas. I'm so glad you spoke up.
Yes.
Sharon, go ahead.
So I'm curious what the organ and piano duet is.
So I just reached out to our organist because I am just the one who like assigns musical numbers and I'm the choir director. I reached out to him and he has a buddy who plays the piano and they found an arrangement of Oh Holy Night. I will ask them and maybe I can email it out to you guys what the specific arrangement is.
Okay, thank you. Sounds really good. Sounds really good what you're doing there.
Any other thoughts, Sharon, or anything we want to share?
Oh, no, I wish I had as much energy as that. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm looking forward to getting good ideas. And I'm kind of bummed because our stake has had this tradition of having a sing-in. And anyway, with the incoming new stake president, they have canceled that and they did a Thanksgiving week or something that we just finished, which was wonderful too. But I always hate when we have to get rid of music at Christmas. But
Yeah.
church is still true, you know?
Yes, it is for sure. Awesome. Yeah, and I think that's a big part. Just traditions in general can be a big part of music stuff, right? That
Yeah.
certain choirs or even the traditions of how choirs are used in state conferences or awards certain times a year, and so it'd be tricky for sure. Any other thoughts or questions from this group? We got a good group here today. I'm excited to hear some music is getting some interest here. So Roger, go ahead and unmute.
So for our ward, I work a lot with a bishop on coordinating what the activity is going to be. We usually have the ward choir sing, and then arrange for maybe a duet or a quartet to do a musical number, and then the bishop likes to keep the speakers at the Christmas program down to one, maybe two short talks, and the rest of the time just music. So we do a lot of singing of different hymns from the hymn book.
Any other ideas, or and they don't have to be anything groundbreaking or innovative. Just it's interesting to hear what different wards or stakes are doing around the holidays. Bonnie, go ahead.
My bishop turns it over to me entirely to plan the sacrament meeting. So I give him a theme and then we work together from there. But our theme this year, and I put this in the chat, is Do You Have Room for the Savior? So we are doing 4 songs that have that theme. And then in between the songs, we'll have 3 speakers, 1 male, 1 female, and 1 youth, who will share a personal experience of when they made room for the Savior. And those opportunities to speak are less than 5 minutes each. So they will be very concise and hopefully very focused on the experience itself versus all the extraneous details that sometimes get involved with that. So that's our plan this year.
Very good.
That's awesome.
And anybody else? So Landon, go ahead.
Hi, I'm wondering how we could get church leaders to be more willing to offer music training to their musicians, especially organists.
Great question. Anybody want to jump on that or have any ideas? Or
I have something I've done in my
yeah,
state,
please.
but I just want to hear if anyone else has ideas.
I'm a new organist, and there's a couple of really good books that maybe the library has, like the beginning LDS ward organist, and then BYU, if you're in the area, has a workshop every year. But I found that, I mean, my whoever called me, they referred me to the existing one of the ladies who is an organist in her ward in the stake, and she was willing to train with me, get me started for an hour and a half. but it wasn't anything formally done. But I guess I kind of reached out to her and she was willing.
Yeah, sometimes it comes down to what or who of the expertise do you have in the area, right?
Yeah.
So
What I've done, I'm actually a master's student at BYU doing organ performance, so I
wow.
am very familiar with all the organ stuff they have over there. But one of the things that I've done in my stake that has changed everything is that we decided with our stake presidency that we wanted all of our organists to receive lessons as part of their calling. And so we called it the ministering approach to music training, and every organist in every ward got lessons for several months for their calling, and it changed the way that they played the organ. We have over 12 organists now, and they all use their feet, every one of them.
Shanna, go ahead.
Yes, I think that is great because I have organists. I'm the stake music coordinator, and I've had organists or people say, "I wish my organist would play with more feeling," or this or that. And I would love to have like organ lessons for organists, especially the new youth that are playing the organ in their ward. But how do I mean, I don't, I play a little bit, but I don't know anything. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I need lessons myself. How would I get a hold of somebody to like get lessons for my stake?
That's a good question. Um, First of all, you'd of course need a trained organist that's pretty fairly competent in your stake. I can put my email in the chat if anyone's interested in that. I can give you more details. I can also, as part of my studies at BYU, I created an online organ course that I created for this purpose. I'm happy to share it in there. It's just a free
Cool.
course, organ course.
Love it. And Landon, if we can help, platform that through Leading Saints or in Zion Lab so that more people can get access to that, that's awesome.
Sure. I
I
have
think that,
some adjustments to make to it, but
okay.
I'm also one of the organ coordinators at the Payson Temple, and we have used it to train our organists in the temple, and it's really been very helpful to them.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And man, it sounds like the church needs some organist missionaries that just travel around and teach organ lessons. Any other questions, or if people have thoughts off of Lennon's question?
I have a question for Landon. So this is going to sound really dumb, but like I said, I play the organ. I do not use the pedals. I mean, I could if I practice them. So you're saying I should use the foot pedals?
Not necessarily. Foot pedals can help keep your legato clean and consistent, but I mean, if you study organ history, the organ has not always, in every country, has not always had a pedal board.
I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm, I'm being lazy because I'm not using the pedals. Like I would need to practice. Um, am I being lazy? Should I
Are
practice? Should
you,
I?
well, are you willing to learn to play the pedals? Are you even able?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I play the piano. I've took piano lessons for millions of years, and I even took organ lessons when I was a teenager. And I mean, I could do it. I would just need to practice.
Yeah, well, if you're at least willing, I would say just take it in small steps. Just choose one hymn, and then just work on it for however long you need, and then play it in your ward with the pedals, and then do what you have to do for your ward in the meantime. But one thing I've told my temple organists is, the temple is interesting because the temple is the only place in the church where there actually is a musical proficiency standard.
Mm.
That's not true for wards and stakes. It's just like whoever wants to serve. But the temple is the one place where they do require proficiency on the organ. And I've just told my temple organist to just take it by baby steps. But the most important thing is that you don't want to sit down and just give up or say, "Oh, well, that's good enough." But if
Yeah.
you're, as
Okay.
long as you're progressing in some way in your skills, that's what's important.
Yeah.
Okay. I have another question, if that's okay, Kurt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if it's a question or comment, but I'm just curious if other people do this. So, sometimes I will play the organ, and then sometimes I'll play the piano, like in the same meeting. And I was at my son's ward, and there's a BYU organist. I mean, like a organ teacher in his ward, and I noticed he did that. One song he played the piano, one song he played the organ, and I was asking him about that after the meeting, and he said if there's a more flowing line, he'll use the piano, and then if it's just like a straight hymn, he'll use the organ. I was just curious if anybody else does that, or because now I do that from time to time.
The church handbook allows for that, so absolutely that's appropriate.
Yeah. Good stuff. And
Okay.
Pamela, if it makes you feel any better, I don't use the foot pedals, nor the keys of the organ. I just don't play. So you're doing a lot better than I am. Sharon, go ahead.
Yeah, but okay, so just making sure, even though you don't use the pedals, you do know about the bass coupler, right? Pamela, because I'm a new organist too, but always put on the bass coupler because
Does all organs have that?
Not
oh, good.
necessarily.
Okay,
If
I
you play
don't.
a pipe organ, the pipe organ may or may not, but all digital organs will have them.
In my thing, I'm a ward music coordinator. I have to remember I've always been called a chair before. Found out that it was a different title there. As far as going from the piano to the organ, they encouraged that. They said some songs
Wow.
just go better with the piano. Please do that. And the church is coming out with with courses for piano, guitar, and organ.
That
That
is
will
true.
be, yeah, isn't it so? It's so cool. Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yeah,
That's so good to know. Thank you.
Sarah mentions in the comments that her word is more reverent when the songs are played on the piano. So maybe whatever feel
Ooh.
you're going for. So
Wow, that's incredible. Thank you.
awesome. Cool. I'm always glad when someone like Landon shows up to these because I've always got an expert I can throw it over to. So get ready, Landon. But any other questions or comments, and we can change the subject to a different part of music and wards or stakes or.
Landon, one of my dreams would be to be a temple organist one day.
Oh, yes.
So what is that? Can you just briefly tell?
Yes, I can. We're currently working on making some adjustments with the temple department on that. Hopefully they'll accept it. But basically, if you want to, this is available in all temples, but temples that have organs in their chapels offer the opportunity to have live organ music. It's kind of, at least here in Utah, that's fairly common. So I'm at the Payson Temple, and for over 5 years, we didn't have organists since COVID, but our temple presidency just reinitiated having that come back. So if you want to play in the temple, I'd contact your temple presidency and ask if they have live organists, because it kind of depends.
Okay, thank you for that. Our Linden Temple is about done an open house, and that's our temple. So maybe I can get a foot in the door.
Oh yeah, yeah. They will probably have live organists, I assume. Usually the new temples that open up do. I can
Okay.
tell you at least the standards that the temple department wants for organists. If you want to serve in the temple as an organist,
Yes.
you need to be able to understand pretty thoroughly the organ console and its components.
Okay.
You need to understand the stops and how to use them. My organ course can help with that.
Oh, okay.
Actually, all the standards for the temple are actually on that organ course. There's a page that says the temple organist. That's the standards from the temple department.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I just learned I am not qualified for the temple organist, so this is, I guess I'll have to look elsewhere. Anybody else want to ask a question? And again, we can go in any musical direction you want. So, Bonnie, go ahead, and then we'll go to Rebecca.
So I noticed in the chat somebody had asked about how we're handling the new hymns. And in our ward, what I have been doing is asking someone, I am very blessed to live in a ward that our musical talent is very deep. So we have special musical numbers every week other than Fast Sunday and on the third Sunday if the High Councilman says no. But at least once a month, I ask who's ever going to do the musical number to choose one of the new hymns that we haven't done. And they sing that hymn as a special musical number. And then the following week, we use it as the opening or closing song. So that's one of the things that we're doing with the new ones. My biggest question on this is, are you guys making copies and making them available within your wards, or how do you guys do that? Because we've had some back and forth over that in our building about whether or not they want to print hard copies and make those available, or if they want to push everybody to electronics. But our concern is investigators won't have that app, so they don't have access to that. We have a lot of elderly people in our ward who don't have access on the app. Once you get teenagers on the app to do the music, are you going to get them off the phone to listen to the rest of the meeting? And so just what are some of you guys' experiences with that? We printed like the first 3 or 4 batches that they released, but then the agent bishop in our building said no more. He doesn't want any more added to that. We have 4 wards in the building. 2 wards use the folders and 2 wards do not. So I'm in the 3rd ward that goes into the building, so I put them all out. And then the music coordinator for the last ward cleans them all up. And the 1st and 2nd wards into our building don't use them. They don't want them out. So what are some of the experiences around the new hymns and how you're handling printing, not printing, and how are you introducing them?
Great question.
So we are also doing binders, and that has worked well. I don't know if they're switching off between the wards that meet in our place. And then just one other comment to the new hymns. Our choir, I'm the pianist for the choir, but we introduce the song by choir first. And also, being the organist, I am trying to play the new hymns as prelude and postlude, just to get it going, get the congregation more familiar. So those 2 ways, choir and prelude postludes, to get going on these new hymns.
Awesome. Anybody else want to speak to the new hymns and integrating those?
So in our stake, we've printed the hymns and put them in folders, and that has been good, I like to see the whole music and not just 2 measures at a time. And then, like she said, for the older people, the older members, it's easier for them to see. And different ways that we've introduced it is just like having the organist play through it, or I just got released as the chorister, but when I was the chorister, I would go up and I'd introduce, like, talk about the hymn just a little bit, maybe a little bit of history about it, like maybe 1 minute. And then I would sing through the hymn, the first verse, and then I'd invite the whole congregation to sing with me. And they said they really liked that because then they could hear a human voice singing it. And anyway, I got a lot of good feedback for that. Right now, with the folders, I've had the question from one of my wards, and they're running out of space in the folders, and they're like, what should we do? And so that's my question. I don't know, get another folder, maybe make the music smaller, but then you run into the problem with, older people, me included with my glasses, it's harder to see the smaller print. And so if anybody has any ideas, maybe you just go with the binder rather than a folder. And I don't know. What are your ideas about that?
Arlen, do you want to share?
Yeah, so we've gone with the binder, and we've involved the youth in adding to those binders. So whenever we get a new batch, the youth have an activity night, and they print and punch and collate and put them all in the binders, and then they're kind of excited to use those binders when they're there on Sundays. So it keeps them off their phones a little bit also.
Awesome. Sharon, do you want to share?
We do binders, and they are in the sheet protector. And I've offered to help with that, but haven't been asked to. Love the idea of the youth helping out with that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
So let's go back to Landon. Go ahead.
I was going to say with the new hymns, I'm in a little bit unique situation because I'm at the YSA right now, so we're pretty tech savvy. But a great option is that feature on the Gospel Library, the hymn board that comes up every Sunday. Hopefully you know about that. That's a great resource that the church has made so that you can sing the new hymns or any hymns even without physical sheet music. I know that doesn't work for a lot of older people. They prefer the physical, but it is an option.
Yeah. Denise, go ahead. We hear you.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, we've gone to the binders, but we found out that this coming year, there's going to be 36 new hymns. So the binders that we've got are not going to accommodate that many more. They said you're going to have to get creative about it. You might want to go to loose leaf to put those in because we just don't have enough room.
Yeah. And I would also say, most church buildings are equipped with a projector, and I've even seen some wards, project the sheet music onto the screen. And
we were told no.
Who told you no?
I went to the ward council and they just shot it down. They said, if you'll look in the ward in the church handbook, no, you're not supposed to have anything like that during sacrament meeting. I went, okay.
Well, if I was in charge, I would do it anyway. So I think that's a phenomenal. Especially, I mean, this is the thing is the church is releasing hymns, which is cool, and they release some here and there, and we're all excited. But then the practical approach of actually singing them, which as a lay member who doesn't, play an instrument, I wish we could sing more of the new hymns, but I'm not going to put that on, if maybe they're not equipped or able. I don't know. And so to me, I think I will promise you nobody will get in trouble if you project it. So you can blame me. So let's go to who haven't we hit on? David.
When I was at conference last year, I mean, they had the TV cameras up and they had the words going for the song, for the hymns that they had right there at the conference center. So
yeah, they do it. So you can blame it on First Presidency. Like I'm just following their example. Sarah Jane, what do you have to share?
One thing that I have found is since my ward isn't really musically inclined, I really have to advocate for us to be doing music things. And once I share hey guys, we gotta make this happen. Everybody's on board. But as far as new hymns, I brought up the idea to the Bishopric about doing a fifth Sunday because they're always looking for ideas for a fifth Sunday. And I was like, second hour, just have everybody, because we have the last end of church, but have everybody meet up in the cultural hall or somewhere, and we'll do a testimony meeting, but with the new hymns. So maybe beforehand, I'll do a hymn share where I'll assign a couple people. Hey, this is, I want you to pick a hymn, make sure everybody picks a hymn that's different and share 2 minutes or less about why you like this song, what it's about. And then we'll sing the songs for a fifth Sunday. Well, anyway, we were planning to do this coming on the 30th, but we had a stake high councilman or whatever coming. And so we had to switch it up. And so we're now planning on doing, Bishop was like, I really want to do this. Let's do it during sacrament meeting. And I love the idea of the projector screen because everybody doesn't know where to look or how to sing it. And I think it'd be just so nice if we could have a guided discussion about it and provide that time. Anyway, that's kind of what I've been trying to do.
Very cool. Love it. Let's see, Pamela, should we come back to you? Then we'll go to Shanna.
Yeah, we have the hymns printed out in a book that we add to. But sometimes if there's a new one that we haven't had time to do that because our youth do it, we just print it on the back of the program and for that Sunday, and that works. And then the other thing that I was going to say is we did have a sacrament meeting, and we had 4 or 5 of the new hymns, and we assigned different people to talk about them. And they talked about why they liked that hymn or told a little history of it, and then we all sang it. And we need to do more of that, but that was a really great sacrament meeting.
Awesome. We'll go to David.
Brother Bussy and I, we've had a missionary. I don't know how we call it. We have our own mission music program that we go around putting on at healthcare facilities, living. I forget what they call them. Like nursing homes and stuff like that. And we've also gone to a couple of different churches. We went to the Episcopal church. They have lunches, and we played music and sang for the while they have the lunches. We went to the Baptist church and the Episcopal church, and we were asked to do a memorial service. We had a memorial service. We did it. So our group is what do they call it? Interfaith, more of an interfaith. We have different people in different faiths that join us, and we do sing it at sacrament meetings too. And I don't know, it's just, and I just want to say this: the other churches, most everyone has the TV screens, and they put the music or the words or the lyrics up on the TV screens for the people to sing along. So.
All right. Anybody else have Marcia, go ahead.
I played in the Salt Lake Temple until it closed. And I might have got spoiled there because, you'd play in that assembly room waiting for the group to go into the session. And it was so quiet. I could not play the organ any quieter, but yet it was still so quiet. And I got spoiled, I think, because my biggest frustration, I'm the ward organist now, and I usually go and I'm starting the prelude literally before anybody's there, thinking that if they would walk into a quiet chapel, that might help them to be reverent. But I struggle with within once maybe 5-6 minutes before the meeting starts, I truly sometimes can't hear myself. And you might think, well, just play louder. But is that not just going to be a competition? Well, then I'll talk louder. I don't know. I wish there was some way I could, and I do pray for this. I want some way that the music of the hymns can help them to invite the Spirit before the meeting. That's one thing that I'm frustrated with. One other, let me tell you 2 things, and everybody help me.
Okay.
I visit my son's ward, and they are so good at having the youth learn how to lead music. And so the youth are always the ones that lead the sacrament meetings. But I wish they would also teach that the youth would meet with the organist, because I want to say, organist, follow that youth, because they're learning that they just stand up there and lead, and they follow the organ, whether the organ should be following them in that setting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a great point. My 13-year-old daughter leads the music in sacrament meeting, and there's a learning curve there, but she's now dialed in, and yeah, I would guess that the organist is not really paying attention to her, nor anybody else in the room, but it's good experience for her.
Yeah, Anyway, I really have such a testimony that the reverent music
Yeah.
can invite the Spirit before the meeting ever starts, but it is difficult at times.
Yeah, for sure. Bonnie, do you have something to share on that?
So in our ward a few months ago, they started having the primary kids sing Prelude the last 5 minutes before well, they're supposed to be there 15 minutes, but 10 to 15 minutes prior to the meeting starting, the primary kids, and it's voluntary. Any of the primary kids that are there early and want to go up, and they just stand at the front and they sing some primary songs without fail. Every single time, the last song they sing is the chapel doors seem to say to me, "Shh, be still." And as soon as they start that song, any talking that's left in the room, because everybody starts to settle down, but that song starts and everybody stops talking.
Oh, wow.
So
That's a great
that's
idea.
been
I love that.
helpful in our ward to have the primary do the last few minutes and sing that song as the last song. So
Cool. Landon, go ahead.
In the situation where you're using the organ mostly for prelude, if you look at lesson 6 in my organ course, I actually teach about this. And this is a pattern that I use in my ward, and it's worked very well, is to use a thoughtful combination of volume, registration. Those of you that organists hopefully understand what that word means. And also what kind of music you're playing, whether that be hymns or arrangements of hymns. And what I like to do is, if my congregation is being quite irreverent and they're being talkative and loud, I will raise the volume of the organ a little bit. I won't raise it to a point where it's would be classified as disrespectful, but I will raise it enough that it prompts them to raise their voices a little bit. And then what I do is I have a moment of complete silence after I finish whatever I was playing, where the organ totally stops for like 10 seconds. And then their voices will drop. And then I start playing super duper soft. And then I just follow that same pattern of, if they start to get loud, I'll just increase the volume just a little bit. And then I will have a moment of silence. So I use a thoughtful combination of volume, registration, variety, and silence to get them to be reverent. And that has been more effective than anything else I've tried.
Wow, I love that. That's a great tip. All right, anybody else? Landon.
I think one thing that I think is a common theme for everyone here that I've kind of heard is wondering how we can get church leaders to treat music as, just see it as more important than it is, rather than just something that happens on Sunday. And this is something they talked about at the church music workshop, that we want music to be seen as a tool for that. Hopefully, that how can we get church leaders to see music as a tool to satisfy the needs of their wards, rather than just see it as something that's just, oh, we have to have an opening hymn, we have to have a closing hymn. Oh, and if we go over time, we'll cut the closing hymn.
Yeah, you're always the part that gets cut, right? When sometimes that music, that closing hymn could be the reason someone shows up, right? Rather than the talk. So yeah, and this is a great question, just the motivation question, right? How do we motivate leaders to consider it differently? But anybody have thoughts around that? Sharon, go ahead.
I wish I had something really practical like Landon just gave us about that 10-second stop. But all I can say is maybe like was said earlier, we've got to keep advocating and bringing to the forefront of minds that really this music facilitates the Spirit, it unifies, and it really the Spirit for an experience. So I just think we have to keep advocating. I don't have any specific ideas for that except just be vocal and articulate to our leaders about that.
Yeah, and I would add, like, obviously, it sounds like, if that's the case, maybe a one-on-one conversation needs to take place. And I think a lot of leaders, there's just such a tradition of cutting the hymn rather than the speaker. And a lot of leaders, I've been that leader who, is presiding in a meeting and has to drop a note on the lectern and say, "Hey, time's up." Get it, but oftentimes we give them more of a slack to run with, and then it's the music that's told to cut it short. So to really articulate that to a bishop or a leader, I think that would be really helpful to say, hey, maybe you shouldn't always cut the hymn. Maybe you should cut the speaker from time to
Oh,
time.
mm,
So
interesting. Yeah,
yeah,
that is an idea. That
yeah,
is an idea.
because it's easier to cut the hymn than to interrupt the speaker and be like, hey,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Although, if there was, yeah, well, that's true. But if there was like a third speaker, like the time when I took too long and my husband couldn't speak after me, that was so bad.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and we've done some other content around that, like just with meeting management or presiding of like, how do you prep a speaker to know? Because a lot of people, they don't speak a lot. They're nervous. They prepare. They think they prepare 5 minutes, but they actually prepared 15 minutes, and so they're just plowing through it, thinking they got plenty of time, and then the music is the one that then ends up
Takes
cut.
the hit.
So, Bonnie, go ahead.
So in our ward, again, I just feel very blessed. My bishop is 100% behind more music. And he will say, I can have 2 special musical numbers if I want to. And we have a spreadsheet that's set up for the entire year. So I can just go in and put the hymns in there plus the musical numbers. And he said, up until the point where they have speakers assigned, I can put 1, 2, even 3 special musical numbers. I've only done 3 once, and that was because we had some in place. It was a missionary leaving when the family asked to do a special number, and I did get the bishop's permission to add that third one. But he said he's always willing. If I already have 2 musical numbers in there, they either ask one less speaker or they let the speakers know they have less time. But one thing, that a ward that I lived in out in California, they actually had a paper that they gave us when you were asked to speak in the ward. They gave you an instruction paper that kind of had an outline, what your topic was and how long you had to speak. And they asked you to please watch the time, prepare, and practice at home. And they kind of just had this little outline of what they expected you to do in preparation for the talk so that you didn't go over on your talk. So we had a few people in the ward that one person took up the entire meeting. But the bishop talked to me about that later and said, were you offended when I handed you that paper? I said, no, I loved it. I thought it was great. They had little tips on there, everything else. So I don't know if you can get your bishops to do that as far as helping the speakers prepare and handle it at home a little bit more. And also ask them, do you guys all have access to a spreadsheet where you put the music in and you know who's speaking and what the topics are? Because they'll have the topics in there ahead of time. So when I'm choosing hymns, I can choose hymns that go along with those topics.
Yeah. I think if the bishopric preps the speaker, notifies them, hey, we'll help you keep track of time. We will just put up a note there. Like if you preempt that dynamic, they'll be less offended when it happens. Like, well, I told you I would do it. It's not that you're a terrible person and I just want you to sit down. So good stuff. All right. Anybody else? The last remaining minutes here.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it, I haven't read the handbook about music, but are we supposed to have a special musical number once a month?
I think there's quite a lot of autonomy in the handbook, if I remember right. You can go, Landon, go ahead.
There's no direction in the handbook on specifics of what should and should not be done. And purposely the church has done this, where if you read chapter 19, that's what I would read. If you have questions about stuff like that, just go to chapter 19 of the church handbook and read it.
Okay.
And you'll find that it's all principle based. They teach correct principles and expect wards and stakes to govern themselves based off of these principles and guidelines. So you'll notice, like, it doesn't say don't do this or do this. Rather, it just says here's the principle that's trying to be accomplished through music. Now go do that.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Great question. Anybody else? Jana, go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you for putting this together, because it's so hard for people in music callings to that it's like just them. You don't have a presidency to run ideas off of and bounce my ideas off of. And I'm just, my friend texted me about this today. And so I'm like, oh my goodness, this has been wonderful. And I just wanted to thank you for putting this together, and we should do this again.
For sure. Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up there, and you can continue the conversation. You can go to the general discussion area, and get a music question posted and keep the conversation going there. And yeah, let's do this again. I'd say even if we did this a couple times a year, if any of you can reach out and remind me to get it on the schedule again, or as often as you want to have it. We had a great showing and a lot of interest, so it definitely showed me that there's an interest here. So, all right, thanks everybody. We'll see you over in Zion Lab.